Dr. Williams. This is my business leadership class, okay, which I'll be teaching them entrepreneurial opportunities. When my class comes in, the first thing that they're going to see is that their objectives are on the board, okay? Considering that this is going to be the first day that we're covering this unit, my class, as you can see here, Davey, as you can see, the first thing they're going to be doing is they're going to copy down their objectives, okay? Although this is just one class period, right, it will take us at least a week or two to get through all of the objectives, so they need to have that written down so they know what's expected of them, okay? So they have their objectives here, they would be copying them down. They have their essential questions here, which are, what is an entrepreneur? What does it take to start your own business? What does an entrepreneur need to know about the different types of business ownership? Why do you think the different types of businesses use the same basic functions? By no means are those the only questions that we're going to be answering over the week, but these are definitely a great foundation for what they need to be learning, and they will also be copying down those questions as well and building answers towards them during the week over my lecture and the other learning activities that we're going to be having. They also have their higher order thinking questions here. Number one, why might two or more people decide to form a partnership instead of forming a sole proprietorship? And two, why do you think so many businesses are formed as sole proprietorships? Again, those will kind of evolve as the week goes along. These are more foundational questions that they will also be copying down, right, to build their answers towards those questions. And of course, they have the vocabulary here, which they'll be copying down. So when they come in, I give them about 5 to 10 minutes to get at least the objectives down, okay? All right. After I've given them about 5 to 10 minutes to copy down the questions and taking that and answering some basic questions they may have about vocabulary, I will introduce the bell ringer to them. Okay? Obviously, they'll also expect to copy this down, and the bell ringer for today's lesson would be: there's a business opportunity in a newspaper or online, okay, in their local community, and they're going to say, it's going to say very simply, it's verbatim, discount store in popular shopping mall, $65K or $65,000 purchase price. They will be expected, and they're bettering it to answer, would you buy this business? Why or why not? What else would you want to know about this business in order to make such an important decision of spending $65,000 to buy it? Okay, this is when I would open up the question and answer period to see if they understand what they need to be doing on the bell ringer. So for my class, my handpicked class for today, is there any questions about the bell ringer? Kelly.
What business what things would they be selling in the business?
Okay, now it says discount store. So obviously we know it's something not like maybe a CVS or a Walgreens. Discount meaning more like maybe Kmart or Dollar Tree, Dollar General, whatever we have here in Homestead. Okay, but that again, right? It says what else would you want to know, right? So in your answer, Kelly, you would want to know, does it already exist? It doesn't say if it's closed down. It doesn't say if it's open. That's something that you need to know, right? Any other questions, Liz Marie?
I would also want to know if they're selling me the products at a cheaper price, so I could sell them.
Selling what products? Because right now you're just buying the business, right? We haven't yet got to where you're going to get your products from. Okay, so another question that you may want to ask this person that you're going to put in your answer is, are the products already available? Or do you have a wholesaler, which we're going to go over later, which is in your vocabulary, right, that you already use, or are you free to use your own? Okay, those are all things that would fall under what else would you want to know. Great question. Noel.
Is there any other companies or stores nearby that may service competition?
Here we go. Shopping mall, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you have to start breaking it down. What does shopping mall mean?
There's
in
a
this
lot of
area,
people there.
right, we won't know. Because it doesn't say Southland Mall, which is something close by, or it doesn't say Dadeland Mall, which is more of a fancier mall in the Miami area, right? So you would need to know which mall, because guess what? By definition, shopping mall could be a strip mall. It could be Campbell Drive-In US 1, which is very, I hate to say it, low class, right? Which wouldn't have the best foot traffic, right? Or it could be Dadeland Mall, right? Where you'd be like, man, for $65,000, that would be a steal, right? But now you would have to critically think and read between the lines. For $65,000, right? Being Miami, what do you think it may be, right? But you don't want to assume. You need to ask. Okay. Any other questions?
How big is it? Like,
ask them. Okay. Yep.
It says popular shopping mall, so wouldn't it be like somewhere like
Popular to whom? Right? Because if you were trying to sell something, right, would you say unpopular? Because by law, maybe it's popular to them. Maybe it's popular to the community that really just likes to window shop, right? We won't know. So those are all things that you would want to know, and I need you to put in your answer. So now you have I'll give you about 10 minutes to write these down, write down your answers to the bell work, and then we'll share. After giving my students a sufficient amount of time to answer the bell work, maybe not completely, but at least enough for a class discussion, I'll open up for questions. So guys, which they did answer the bell work. Any questions on the bell work? Questions? Or would like to share?
I would also like to know,
Yeah.
what is the standard of living of the area?
What is the standard of living of the area? So, again, it could be high or it could be low, okay? And based on prior lecture, because I have some of my former students in here, what is the definition of standard of living?
Is maybe the amount of money
The amount of goods and services
that are
offered, right? So, if the standard of living is high, right,
Yes.
and there are several goods and services offered in the area, that could be a good and a bad thing. Why would it be a good thing?
It would be a good thing because more people would come by and buy your goods or services.
Okay.
And for a good amount of price.
Okay, so it would be a good, go ahead.
It would be bad because there would be a lot of competition.
Right. That took the words right out of my mouth. So again, if the standard of living is high, or if it's a more affluent area, or more money is being spent, right, it's a good thing because there are more customers that could potentially be yours, and it's a bad thing because there's more competition, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to ask yourself that if the standard of living was so high there, why is he selling the store? Okay? And then you also have to read between the lines and see that it's a discount store, so again, you're going to be selling more lower end products. Okay? Anybody else want to share what they wrote? Will?
So I would have to ask a lot of questions first before I actually say yes, I would want to buy the business. I would want to know like what other competing businesses are in the area,
Okay.
and if there's like a lot of very well-known businesses next to it, I might not really want to buy it because it'd be too much competition.
Okay. And you also have to ask yourself, you also want to ask them, is it already open? So let's just say that it's a discount drugstore, right? So if it's a discount drugstore, you already know what your competition is. In the Florida area, that would be Walgreens, CVS, right? And maybe even a dollar store as well, or a Navarro as well, and a Sedano's. Okay, I guess those are just local businesses. Okay, now, if the business is closed, right, William, you would want to go and see what infrastructure is available, right? Are the shelves still up, right? Because depending on what's already in the store, your usage of it would be limited, okay? And also, that's another thing that you'd want to ask. If there's no furniture, or if there's no racks, shelving, a desk, right, a cashier available, right, a cashier's area available, then guess what? You're buying the business for $65,000, right? But you're going to have much more startup costs, right? $65,000 to acquire the business, several $100,000 probably to get it off the ground. So that's something else you want to ask. Okay? Anybody else want to share? Malik.
Okay, I will buy it, but first, before I buy it, I would like to know like what is the surrounding of it, like
Surrounding
also
what?
meaning the area and my competition as well, because it's a discount store, but if there's a dollar store next to it, I'm not gonna get much business. But also like how big is it? You have to know that too, because you need to know like what
the square feet?
Yes, exactly. And who are you like aiming for, like as far as buyers?
Demographics. Okay. Now, after my students ask me several other questions, so I'm sure the rest of the students would have questions, and I would continue to break that down without really unveiling other things that what we're going to be covering in the class itself. Okay? I would start to ask them questions such as, okay, now you decided to purchase it based on the questions you asked. You visited the site. You're happy with it. Okay? Then we're going to ask, how are you going to attain the $65,000? Okay? Because although they may want to buy the business, right, they probably don't have $65,000 in cash to shell out. Okay? That's when we go into small business loans, how to attain that. Okay? And then that would be my kind of segue into the lecture about whether are they going to do it alone, which would be a sole proprietorship, Will they do it with one or more partners, which is a partnership, okay, and so forth. So we would discuss that, okay. So I would give them a few moments after introducing sole proprietorship, after introducing partnership. I would give them a few minutes to decide how they would want to do that.
All right.
Okay. After going over the bell ringer and seeing where their prior knowledge is, which in this case is pretty high, okay, I would kind of not necessarily speed through, but I would go over the definition of entrepreneurship, and I would point out that that's the answer to the first essential question, which of course is what they would write down, okay, as in order to be able to study for their future exam, okay. So I go over the definition of entrepreneurship, okay, and I would also go over the 12 characteristics of what makes up successful entrepreneurs, which is persistence, risk-taking, self-confidence. You must be restless, okay? Now, guys, something like that. You understand what persistence is. You understand what risk-taking is. You understand what being confident is. But why do you think it would be important, right, for an entrepreneur to be restless? Kelly?
Because if you take your breaks and stuff, then maybe somebody else, I think that maybe someone else will come and maybe rip out that opportunity from what technically is in your hands.
Okay, anybody else? Why it would be important to be restless when being an entrepreneur and opening up your own business? Eileen?
Maybe when you're trying to open up your own business, you have to be like on top of someone so you can be able to be successful.
Okay.
Because you want to be like a good example to your work.
Right. So here's the thing. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard your parents complain about their bosses all the time, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because that boss is probably restless and is probably never pleased, right? But probably more restless than never pleased because they constantly want you to be at your best, right? Because they want their business to be on top, okay? So the day that you guys become entrepreneurs, I would expect you to be restless as well because you can't rest on your past achievements. Does that make sense? Yes? Yes. Awesome. So restless, goal-oriented. I don't think I have to explain that too much. Action-oriented. Don't talk about it, right? Be about it, right? Don't be an all talk, no action kind of business owner. Those don't last. Especially in our community, we see a whole bunch of grand opening, grand closing, right? Let's make sure that there's at least 20, 30 years in between that grand opening and grand closing, okay? Be responsible, right? Self-demanding. So guess what? You're the business owner, right? Guess who's your boss? You. So if something needs to get done, you have to look in the mirror, right? Put your big boy pants on, right? Or put your big girl blouse on, right? And say, all right, I'm going to get this done today. All right? I need this loan. I'm going to make sure my paperwork is on point and be able to get this loan so we can get off the ground. We need to get this account. We need to get this billboard, whatever the case may be. We need to get the lower wholesale price. I need to negotiate with my wholesaler in order to get, I don't know, if we're running a drugstore, we need Dove soap, right? I need it cheaper. Right? My prices are lower, then I need to get it lower. Then you need to be self-demanding and make sure that you get that price. Okay? You need to be creative, especially if you're on the lower end competing against bigger stores. Think about it. If it's Williams Drugstore and you're competing against CVS, Walgreens, Target, right? You better be creative or they're going to take you up. They're going to take you over. Okay? Be independent. Inquisitive. Who's heard that word before? Inquisitive. Right? Ask questions. Right? That's the main thing here. Right? If somebody tells you, oh, it's great, really, why? No, it will be great, trust me. No, it has tons of foot traffic. Okay, it has foot traffic. Why does it have foot traffic? Where is it? I don't see it. Is there parking? How much parking? What, 2 cars? Right? What if you have a sale, right? And there's only 2 cars that are, 2 parking spots available. And we know we live in Miami, so everybody drives. The people who don't have a car aren't spending any money. They're walking and be like, oh, there's lots of stuff here. I'll come back, right? That's not paying your bills. So be inquisitive. Ask the questions. Why? How, right? That's how you can become successful. Got it? Yes? And I'll obviously be enthusiastic. Imagine you walk in, whoa, yes, we're opening today, right? And let's say you only have about 10 customers. Are you going to lose your enthusiasm? No. Absolutely not. Yes, sir.
Do you have Sabrina Catalan?
She's going to be next door.
Next door, Miss Vaquero?
Mrs. Vaquero, yes, at my class.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Can't get more authentic than that, right, Doc?